Solon Simmons is a professor at George Mason University and the author of the forthcoming book, The Eclipse of Equality, Arguing America on Meet the Press. He joins us on the line from Washington. Professor, thank you very much for joining us.
Great to be here.
Okay, issue number one, if there is one out of the many, is what?
Well, it will be the economy, but what we ought to say about the economy, and mind you, the State of the Union, especially in an election year, an inaugural year, is a policy address for the State of the Union, where the inaugural address is a visionary address. So what we'll see are a more tight focus on policy, one hopes, and what you'll probably see the president focus on is the need for economic growth, because economic growth is the way that the easiest way to deal with the deficit. He's going to want to focus on infrastructure and investment, the idea of investing in America, in education, in skills, and in infrastructure, so that we might realize a brighter future. Of course, the reality is that we have the unstoppable force of the need to do something with the immovable object of the Republican Congress. And right now, it seems that they're on a really dangerous collision course, maybe even worse than it has been previously. I know we keep saying this again and again, that there are all of these various games of chicken, but we have it again. And here, what you have is you have what's called the sequester, which is this idea that you have to have automatic cuts, which have been agreed upon to both defense and to domestic spending, and they're very large. And what those will do is automatically undermine economic growth. And so I think that both sides realize how dangerous this is, and yet, from what I can tell, especially watching the news cycle today, it seems that there's not much hope for some kind of resolution before March 1st. So what we'll see is the president try to push a policy agenda and move the momentum toward some kind of resolution, hoping to roll, in a sense, the Republicans toward action.
So that means the chances that we're going to see that unicorn called bipartisanship are what?
Very, very limited, I would say. It's not a great opportunity. This is not a good time for bipartisanship. And I think that, if you can see it in the Republican responses. John McCain, Lindsey Graham, very tough on the foreign policy angle right now, as well as economy. And so many people saying, good reporting seems to be that the Republicans are not ready to deal. They're frustrated with having given into tax raises, tax hikes on the upper income slot the last go around. And there's no talk of the payroll tax, remember, even though that was raised as well. So there's a sense like that you can't raise taxes every few weeks is the language. So it looks extremely difficult, and the center is evaporating. And then there's a sense that the president has a combative tone. I suppose we'll see more of that on Tuesday, because he's going to be in a kind of combat for not only for stimulating the economy, but also for dealing with entitlements, which he's going to try to meet in the middle. But the Republicans are far to the right of him on this issue.
Now, from a strictly Canadian point of view, what about pipelines? Where is the president going to stand on that?
Well, I don't know where he's going to come out on it, but of course, there's the issue of climate change, which is the really surprising feature of his inaugural address, pushes in the direction against support of the pipeline. I don't know that there's any momentum at all to oppose the pipeline at this point. But it does seem that that's the big question. If you want to look for something on Tuesday, where does he come down? What kind of policy does he promote? Is he just trying to secure his place in history so that in 50 years, when we live in this warm planet that's full of chaos and disruption, he can look good in that situation? Or is he really going to try to do something? We have no idea what's going to happen on climate change. That's the big the nail biter, I would say.
Last 30 seconds here. The Republican response on Tuesday from a very high-profile senator. Is this the Republicans' attempt to make inroads among Hispanics with Marco Rubio?
Absolutely, and a wonderful question. The really disturbing thing about the last election was the race and ethnic divide. 71% in the exit polls of Latinos voted for Democrats. A big divide, obviously, among African Americans and also Asians, whereas the white vote only was about 39% for the president. So there's a big divide here. I think that Rubio represents the future. He's very strong free market, and he also sort of splits the middle on the immigration policy. So immigration reform, of course, will be a very important part of the address as well.
Solon Simmons from George Mason University and the author of the forthcoming book, The Eclipse of Equality, Arguing America on Meet the Press. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.